down here, and this rating right here on the end is 334. That is 334,000 viewers for that Thursday primetime game. All right, now we come back here. Right here is the 18 to 49 demographic, a .06. So 60,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demographic.
334,000 viewers. That's what Team USA's FIBA World Cup qualifier pulled on truTV last Thursday night at 7:45 p.m. And before you dismiss that number, understand what it represents. This wasn't the actual World Cup in September. This was a preliminary qualifying game against Puerto Rico, a game that became a blowout halfway through the first quarter and ended as a 50-point massacre. On truTV, not TNT. And it still crushed Unrivaled's entire season.
So, to give you an idea, 334,000 is what that drew. Unrivaled's viewership, of course, fell 40%. It's funny how they try to talk us into how successful of a year Unrivaled had. Their viewership dropped 40% to an average of just north of 120,000 viewers. So, and that's on TNT and truTV. So, this game outdrew Unrivaled by 250.
Let's put this in perspective. Unrivaled spent the entire offseason telling us they were revolutionizing women's basketball. 3-on-3 format, top WNBA stars, primetime slots on TNT and truTV, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart as the faces of the league. Major investment, professional production, the whole package. Their regular season averaged just north of 120,000 viewers. Their championship game, aired on TNT in primetime, drew 314,000 viewers. Team USA's qualifying game beat that championship by 20,000 viewers. On the lesser network, in a non-competitive blowout, during qualifying rounds that most casual fans didn't even know were happening.
Now, I don't know if you want to call it destroyed, but it still got more viewers than their championship game got. Right down here, the Unrivaled championship game averaged 314,000 viewers on TNT. I would have been very interested to have seen what the ratings would have been for this on TNT, because I think if it's aired on TNT, this game gets 500,000 viewers. And I'm talking about the FIBA World Cup game. You know, and this Unrivaled championship was on TNT, and it still got beat by 20,000 viewers.
Here's what makes this particularly devastating for Unrivaled. Their viewership dropped 40% from their first season to their second season. That's not a minor dip, that's a catastrophic collapse. You're a second-year league, you should be building momentum, not hemorrhaging viewers at that rate. And when your championship game gets beaten by a qualifying round game that wasn't even marketed heavily, you've got a serious problem. But there's another layer here that's worth examining. That 334,000 number might actually be understating Team USA's actual viewership.
But I don't know. The other thing is, yesterday during that game, if you were watching on truTV, we had a blackout for like 3 minutes, where literally the screen just went black with a TNT logo on it. And I posted about that. I talked about that in my reaction video to the game. But I posted that on X, and a lot of people came back with, I'm watching on HBO Max. We're streaming this on HBO Max. So it makes me wonder how many people watched on HBO Max, because that was a lot of the comments I got back, is that's what a lot of folks were watching on, actually.
During Thursday's game on truTV, the broadcast went completely black for 3 minutes. Just a TNT logo on a dead screen. No game, no commentary, nothing. When that was posted on social media, the responses were revealing. Dozens of people commented that they were watching on HBO Max, not truTV at all. They were streaming the game and never experienced the blackout. Those streaming numbers aren't included in the 334,000 figure. That's linear television viewership only. How many people watched on HBO Max? We don't have those numbers. Could be another 50,000, could be 100,000, could be more. The point is, the actual total audience was likely significantly higher than what's being reported. And here's what's fascinating about that. You don't need a cable package or YouTube TV subscription to watch on HBO Max. You just need HBO. The barrier to entry is lower, the access is easier, and clearly a substantial number of viewers took that route. Unrivaled streaming numbers aren't separated out either, but their total viewership includes all platforms. Team USA's 334,000 is linear TV only.
All right, they haven't been competitive games at all. I mean, after halfway through the first quarter, all these games became not only a blowout. I mean, you can't even call them a 20-point blowout. They've been a 30, 40, 50-point blowout. They've been ridiculous, right? Not even remotely competitive. The other thing was, Thursday night, how many people learned that Caitlin Clark wasn't starting these games and said, well, to hell with it, I'm not tuning in. If they're not going to start Caitlin Clark, I'm not watching. That's something to think about.
Now let's talk about what was working against this game's ratings. First, the time slot. Thursday night at 7:45 p.m. isn't primetime in the traditional sense. That's the edge of primetime, competing with everything else on television. Second, the network placement. Trut TV is not TNT. It's a secondary network with lower distribution and less viewer habit. People don't default to Trut TV the way they might default to TNT. Third, and this is crucial, Caitlin Clark wasn't starting these games. By Thursday night, word had gotten out that she was coming off the bench, and the reaction on social media was immediate and harsh. People were genuinely angry that USA Basketball wasn't starting her. Comments flooded in saying if she's not starting, they weren't watching. How many potential viewers made that decision and never tuned in? Fourth, the competition itself. These games haven't been remotely competitive, not 20-point blowouts, 30, 40, 50-point destructions. After the first quarter, the outcome is never in doubt. That's not compelling television for casual viewers.
I should get a rating for yesterday's, maybe yesterday's game, because it was a weekend game. But I don't know that for sure, and I'm interested to see what that rating ends up being. But there's also a lot more competition. But I thought this was interesting. A lot of you guys wanted to know it. I was very curious. Not as high as I thought it would be. Again, Caitlin Clark didn't start games. I saw people that literally said in the comments, well, if she's not starting, I'm not tuning in to watch it. All right. So there's that. The other thing is,
despite all of those factors working against it, the game still polled 334,000 viewers. On a secondary network, for a qualifying game, in a blowout, with the star player coming off the bench, and it beat Unrivaled's championship game that had none of those disadvantages. Think about what that tells you about the actual demand for watching these players compete. When you put them in USA Basketball jerseys, even in qualifying games that don't matter yet, people show up. When you put them in unrivaled uniforms playing 3-on-3 basketball, the audience evaporates. The format matters, the stakes matter, the presentation matters, and clearly the USA Basketball brand carries weight that Unrivaled simply doesn't have and can't manufacture, regardless of how much money gets invested or how many stars sign up.
Rivaled is an unmitigated disaster. Regardless of what Nafisia Collier and Brianna Stewart or anybody else wants to try to tell you about how successful that league is, okay. Sure, if you say so. Second-year league, your ratings dropped 40%. Your championship game got beat by... And keep in mind, too, we're talking about qualifying games. All right? This is not even the starting lineups. The actual World Cup itself is in September. This is like the preliminary games before you get to the World Cup, where you're testing out your lineups and all that. Interesting. Tell me what you think. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.
Here's what this means for the broader landscape of women's basketball. Unrivaled was supposed to be the answer to the offseason problem. Players go overseas to make real money because WNBA salaries aren't enough. Unrivaled promised to keep them in the United States, pay them well, give them exposure, build their brands. The league launched with genuine optimism and significant backing. 2 seasons in, the ratings are collapsing. A 40% drop in viewership is not a sustainable trajectory. And when your championship game gets beaten by a qualifying round game that most people didn't even know was happening, you have to ask fundamental questions about whether this concept works. The 3-on-3 format might be part of the problem. It's different enough from traditional basketball that it feels like a different sport. The games are shorter, the strategy is different, the flow doesn't match what fans are used to watching. That novelty might attract some viewers initially, but it doesn't seem to be retaining them. The other issue is stakes. These are exhibition games in the middle of the offseason. There's no playoff implications, no championships that matter in the broader basketball world, no real consequences. It's entertainment, but it's not competition in the way that matters to sports fans. The FIBA World Cup qualifiers have actual stakes. These teams are trying to qualify for a major international tournament. That matters, even if it's just qualifying rounds. The USA basketball brand also carries enormous weight. When you see Team USA on the jersey, that means something. It's the national team. It's representing the country. It's part of a legacy that goes back decades through Olympic competitions and World Cups. Unrivaled is a 2-year-old startup league trying to build credibility from scratch. That's a massive difference in how viewers perceive what they're watching. And then there's the Caitlin Clark factor. She's the biggest draw in women's basketball right now, and it's not particularly close. Her presence in these qualifying games is driving viewership even when she's not starting. Unrivaled doesn't have her. They've got stars, absolutely. Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart, other top WNBA players. But they don't have the one player who's proven she can move the needle on television ratings consistently. The question Unrivaled has to be asking themselves is whether this is fixable. Can you reverse a 40% viewership decline in year 3? Can you build sustainable interest in a 3-on-3 off-season league when traditional 5-on-5 qualifying games are beating your championship? Can you compete for attention without the biggest star in the sport? Those are difficult questions without obvious answers. And the comparison to these FIBA qualifying games makes them even more urgent. Because if people would rather watch Team USA destroy Puerto Rico in a 50-point qualifying blowout than watch your championship game, your product has a fundamental problem. The actual FIBA World Cup happens in September. Those games will be on better networks, in better time slots, with full marketing pushes behind them. The competition will be better, the stakes will be higher, and Caitlin Clark will presumably be starting by then. Those ratings are going to dwarf what we saw on Thursday, and they're going to make Unrivaled's numbers look even worse by comparison. So what does Unrivaled do? Do they pivot the format? Do they change how they market the league? Do they try to sign Caitlin Clark for year 3? Do they accept that this is a niche product that will never draw mainstream ratings and adjust expectations accordingly? Because right now, the evidence suggests that women's basketball fans want to watch traditional basketball with real stakes and recognizable brands. They want Team USA. They want the WNBA playoffs. They want Olympic competition. They don't necessarily want 3-on-3 off-season exhibitions, no matter how well produced or star-studded they are. That's a harsh reality for a league that's invested significant money and credibility into this concept. But the ratings don't lie, and when a qualifying game beats your championship, the message from viewers is pretty clear.